Welcome to Psychotic Pussy, episode 1. This is our very first podcast, ever for anything. So this is going to be working out a lot of kinks, but we're excited to learn. All right, so we are two sisters with a special interest in women's mental and physical health. We're both in the business of healthcare. That's a bit of a controversial thing to say, but we'll dive into that shortly. We're both born and raised in New Jersey at the Jersey Shore. Our parents are funeral directors, so this will come up often throughout the season because it's a bit of a unique upbringing. Our mother, Geri, is wild. Lack of a better term.
Yes.
And she will also come up a lot. She's an enigma. Mm-hmm. Her unusual parenting style definitely made us the women we are today.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have her to thank, but also
to blame.
Blame, curse, yeah. We absolutely have to have her on as a guest, so you will get the pleasure of meeting Jer Bear. She will definitely make an appearance. So we created this podcast to highlight women's mental and physical health issues. It's not only our hobby, but it is our careers, so we want to shed light on important topics, teach people new things every episode, and do all this in a wacky way with a little bit of wine. Today, actually, so it's the morning.
Yes.
Our first episode is 10:50 in the morning, right after Thanksgiving. So cheers.
Cheers, mimosas.
Actually, they're screwdrivers, because my sister decided to...
That's time for another podcast.
Douse me with vodka in the morning.
What? So.
Martha, who's next to me, she's my older sister. I don't think we ever imagined the amazing relationship we have now when we were kids. We were horrible to each other. At each other's throats, which is just normal sisters, I think, growing up.
Yes.
But when we grew up, we became best friends. Best friends who love each other enough to hate each other.
Frenemies,
yeah. That's frenemies. That's a good way to put it. So now that's Martha, and this is me. I'm Bridget Henneke-Melton. I am an obstetrician and a gynecologist. I currently work in Manchester, England. So I live and work in England. I'm married to an Englishman. His name is Ted. He's came home for Thanksgiving. He's downstairs right now playing with Martha's children. Yeah. So I'm a resident trainee, which you call in the States. And I work in a deprived area, North Manchester, so there are some complex medical issues, a lot of language barriers and health illiteracy all the time. Something I actually just learned is that the literacy age range in England for the average person is up to 9 years old.
Wow.
And so when you're speaking to your average patient, you have to not speak down to them or anything like that, but keep the terms so simple as if you're speaking to a 9-year-old, which is very interesting. But yeah, that is a fact. I promise. Google it. So I wanted a career in OBGYN because women's health has changed the course of history. So everyone has heard the saying, healthy women, we bring healthy communities. So without a healthy mom, there is no healthy baby. And that's a healthy family. So when you have a healthy family, children are the future. So you are literally raising a healthy future generation. That's why healthy women, healthy communities is very important. So when birth control became widely accessible, the family dynamic changed completely. Women were no longer succumbing to yet another pregnancy that could potentially endanger their lives. They had a choice. And that is why women's health is so important to the way our society has changed over time.
Definitely.
And not many specialties are so interconnected with social changes in family life as OBGYN is. So it's the one specialty that shifts with the political administration.
Yes.
Which is so bizarre.
Yikes.
Not much healthcare can change based on who your president is. It's the one area of healthcare where morality is constantly debated.
Yeah.
So in medical school, I was able to work with women in Cyprus. Look that up if you're American and you're tuning in. You might not know where Cyprus is. It's very close to Jerusalem. It's by Israel and Jordan and. So it's a very interesting area. It was owned by the Greeks at one point, so they speak Greek. They're very much Greek culture, but you're 30 minutes from Lebanon and Israel, so it's interesting. Anyway, so I worked in Cyprus and with women in Brazil, Chicago, Orthodox Jewish women in New Jersey, and now I'm with a large immigrant population in Northwest England. So I've been all over. I've seen all the different types of neighborhoods and I've treated all the types of women. I've seen healthcare differences around the world, so I try to learn a little bit from everywhere and incorporate this into my practice. That's my goal. So that's me. I'm Bridget, and this is my sister Marissa. Here, take the mic.
I thank you. Now, the better sister. Just kidding. So, yes, I'm Marissa Valinsky, and I'm a board-certified, national certified licensed professional counselor. I have been doing this for a little over 10 years. I've honestly worked with clients of all age ranges, diverse backgrounds. I've worked for various agencies in the state of New Jersey, individual, couples, group, EMDR, grief, intensive in community IIC services, substance abuse treatment. Currently, I now own my own private practice, which was, a big dream of mine, so I'm very proud of myself. I am married to John, and I have kids, Jack, 4, and Evelyn, 2. And I actually was not always sure I was going to become a therapist. I actually received my undergraduate degree in biology because my original plan was to become a physical therapist. And when I went to go to apply for the DPT programs, the only ones I were getting into were honestly in the middle of nowhere. And, the ones I wanted to, stay on the East Coast near cities, unfortunately, either waiting lists or big fat rejection. And I was unhappy with that answer. So I made the decision to take a year off. But, in Geri fashion, year off meant you were still going to school. So I did still actually full-time enroll in the local college and take classes, which is where, ironically, I took all psychology classes because I'm like, you know what, if my mom is going to make me take classes, I don't want to do anything too hard. And actually, psychology is actually very hard. So, I don't mean to knock that subject. It is very difficult. But
you enjoyed it, so it wasn't hard for you.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. So I took it, and that is where I had this epiphany where I was like, you know what, this year off, because I was just going to reapply to DPT. But you know what, I was like, I really like all the classes I took. I want to pursue this. And so that is what I did. And that's where I got into the mental health counseling program at Monmouth University. And it has led me to my career today and this wonderful podcast with my sister Bridget. And we are not fighting, so this is a great big morning. And we have alcohol, so this is
big
morning. So, with that being said, let's get into our topics that we want to discuss. Here you go, Bridget.
All right. Wow. Actually, hearing your intro, I always forget how impressive Marissa is. I probably don't say this enough, although I brag about you in England all the time. So, what are you, 33?
32.
32. I know her age. It's
Whoa.
The end of November.
Okay, you 30-year-old.
I'm 29 minutes. Okay, so she's 32. She'll be 33 in January. I'm 29. Mm-hmm. I'll be 30 in July. I have a long way to go. So she's almost 33. But, we're young, and you're just killing it. Not many 32-year-olds, and she's been doing this for a while. Like she just said, 10 years of experience. Married, homeowner, owns her own private practice, which she opened during her second maternity leave.
I did. Well, which, again, another episode, I got that from Geri. So.
Yeah, that's the Geri mentality. There's no such thing as maternity leave to Geri. She's like, so what's your next move career-wise?
Why are you sitting on the couch breastfeeding? Get up.
Oh, we'll get into that. That's something, obviously, Marissa and I don't agree with, but...
It's a little bit funny, but also a little bit of trauma. So.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we're not crazies. We're not saying you should take maternity leave. That's not...
No, absolutely
not. Completely agree with maternity leave. It's just the old school Geri, immigrant kind of...
We should... start by saying she is Italian. So,
yeah,
Jersey Italian.
Yeah.
She was 9 years old and her dad was like, what is your full-time job?
Yeah.
What do you bring to the table?
They had a farm as well, so she was up at 4 feeding chickens. Yeah. So it's just, it's a bit of a cultural difference, but also I would say generational.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
She's not crazy, I promise.
No.
But maybe.
Good time, honestly.
Yeah.
Good show for everyone.
So I just want to say that, I always forget how impressive you are for only 32. And,
thank you.
I
think you're very impressive. I do. When I start the sentence off, my friends are like, oh, you must be so proud. I am. I'm a little jealous.
I don't own a home. I don't have kids.
But you're a doctor. Come on. You're saving lives, you hero.
Well, talk to my patients.
Are they alive still?
They are, thankfully. So our first topic is the importance of psychology and medicine. Because obviously that is the whole point of this. Psychotic Pussy, we have the mental health aspect and we have the physical health aspect. So, it is no mystery that mental and physical health are intertwined. We say it all the time, but what is the evidence behind it? So we're actually going to talk about that. So the definition of depression involves physical symptoms, changing sleep pattern, changing eating pattern, lethargy. I mean,
lethargy.
You guys say lethargy.
Oh,
I say lethargy.
They're stealing her. I don't know.
Yeah. In England, we say lethargy, but yes, you say lethargy. How insane is that? That, we're treating something, a mental health issue, we're saying it's depression, but it actually changes your physical health. So people can potentially become physically unwell when they are mentally unwell. So Doherty and Gogren, 2014, performed a meta-analysis in which they determined that, quote, people with mental health conditions are at higher risk of developing physical illness, have those conditions diagnosed later, and have much higher mortality rates. Conversely, people with a diagnosis of physical illness, especially cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer, so all long-term conditions, have a greater chance of developing a mental health problem. When both mental and physical illness conditions are present together, there are higher overall rates of morbidity, healthcare utilization, and poor quality of life. Now, that sentence seems maybe obvious to a lot of people. But it's something that is completely underexplored. You say you have maybe low mood and change in sleep patterns. So you see your family doctor and they say, I think you might be depressed. So they send you on, they refer you out to someone like Marissa. And then that's it. Marissa treats you. Thankfully, Marissa is a great therapist and she's smart enough to know that, these things might also come out in your physical health as well, absolutely. Which again, I'll dive into more. So Bell, Audrey, Gunnell, Cooper, and Campbell in 2019 have linked the association between physical exercise and mental well-being. So adolescents with, quote, higher levels of physical activity volume were associated with lower scores on the emotional problems subscale, end quote. So we encourage young people struggling with low mood. This I actually do in my practice. Young people, I'd say about, age 16 to up to 39, I'd say. I encourage you to go out for early morning walks. There's so much evidence. I don't know what it is that early morning is. It's something with circadian rhythm, I think. But if you go for an early morning walk, just 20 minutes around your neighborhood, that actually, before medication, can show improvement in their low mood. It's so strange, but just going for a walk every day in the morning can improve your symptoms. Now, I'm not saying it's going to treat your depression completely. You still need to see a therapist. You might still need medication. You might still need CBT. But just that small change, which everyone can probably try to incorporate into their day. And that's enough to improve your mood. And that's just physical exercise. So young people specifically, there's a positive association between morning walks and improved mood. The ever-evolving relationship between physical and mental health is something we plan to discuss throughout this podcast. Women seek help for mental health conditions more than men, which Marissa, I'm sure, sees all the time. And that's just because women have a proclivity to seek help when we need it. We are surrounded by groups of women usually. We feel comfortable seeking help, asking for advice, whereas sometimes men don't have that closeness with their friends. A male friendship can be very different. Not saying for all cases, but male friendship generally can be very different than a female friendship. Maybe not as a deep dive. Everyone's seen those memes where it's like, the man my husband spends all day with. They're like, oh, what does he do for work? And he's like, we don't talk about that. It's like, well, you don't know what your friend does? Or how's his job going? Didn't ask. What?
We just watched the game.
Oh, how's his girlfriend? No clue.
What's her
just do not deep dive. So, it's interesting because we do see a lot of women in mental health and physical health aspects because they just seek help more. So these hormonal fluctuations you experience, especially for postpartum, or not even, you could just be having, cycles and your mood changes. So it affects your mental well-being, which is why PMS was introduced, in the DSM-5 as an actual mental health condition because it changes your mood so much that you could feel depressed or anxious. Some women, I see a lot of women who are what we call perimenopausal, so that's 2 to 8 years before you hit menopause. Average age of menopause is 51. So in your 40s, they actually have anxiety. Never had anxiety in their life, and all of a sudden they have social anxiety. It's so interesting. So,
sorry, I would like to add, yes. honestly, recently too, clients, we actually have them tracked, because some of my clients honestly have never even decided to track periods. They just don't care. But now that they track it, because we know when they're the week before, they are different with their racing thoughts. And it's important for them to know that and to use their coping skills, because before they just really didn't understand it was happening. And they thought, like, why? Like, what's going on? Stress at work. They were trying to pinpoint it to a bunch of things, which may all be, the reasons why too, but we would figure it was like a week before and even a little bit during, that's when the racing thoughts were the worst. And then they track it and they feel better because they have an answer. Their coping skills, apply it, and they're fine.
And a week before is actually when you get the biggest hormonal change. You get the big spike in estrogen and progesterone followed by a massive drop off. So you're going as high as you can with estrogen and then plummets, and then you get your period. Wow, that is very interesting. That's interesting to know. Okay. So the ever-evolving relationship between physical and mental health is something we will discuss. So, women's health and physical health are forever linked. So, as clinicians, we need to keep this in mind and always evolve our practice to fit the woman and the situation. So that's from my end, and then Mercer will give you the old spiel about the mental health.
Yes, here I am. So yes, they are absolutely intertwined, like Bridget said, so thank you for that. In many years of my practice, I've seen clients come in and they honestly have physical symptoms at first. And you would think, if you're not a therapist, just go see your primary care physician, not a therapist. But obviously, as we talk and we uncover things and we discuss their traumas and their past history and any current anxieties and stress they have, we do learn that the presenting physical symptoms are actually manifested by their mental health.
Okay.
So, and obviously not in all cases like you did, but a good amount of them. So, and it's important. I know you discussed postpartum a little bit.
Dive into that more then.
So, okay. Yes, I do. So, it is important. And actually, recently, this is funny that we're doing this, right, like a week after I saw this. How sad is that I'm in a group on Facebook, obviously, for therapists in New Jersey, and they posted, and they were I'm so proud of them, too. Posted that it's the first group for postpartum care in New Jersey, and they're able to label it as that because they are for postpartum care.
Oh my God!
In New Jersey, and I know that practice, and they're very good, by the way. And obviously, I can link things if you need. If you actually is anybody listening? So,
That's amazing.
I mean, it's about to be 2024, and I just find that really sad because now being a mother twice over, I would have loved that. So.
And can we just say that in other countries, like let's Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, places like that. I'm not going to say in England because it's just not true. But in other countries where they have, and France, where they have very happy family life, women who are postpartum rate is being, the happiest in the world. They have postpartum care. That's oh yes, you have.
So Norway, I looked this up. Norway is ranked the best, followed by Finland. U.S. is in the bottom 5, and Colombia and Brazil are above us.
So we are the lowest ranked highly developed country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's funny because we like to say we're the greatest country in the world, and I'm not knocking it. I love this place, but we have a lot of holes we need to fix.
Absolutely.
A lot of potholes.
We have the worst women's health care for pregnancy. We have the highest mortality and morbidity rates than any other developed country. We are, 4 times as likely to have complications or death. In the U.S. than if you gave birth in England or Finland or Norway. How sad is that when we pour, now this is also a fact, we pour the most money than any other country in healthcare.
To things like, what's that pill for men? Viagra. It's things like that, which is sad, to be honest.
I know, that is insane. We pour the most money, dollar for dollar, we pour it into healthcare. But where does it go? I guess big pharma, insurance companies, Viagra.
Viagra.
We don't hate men. We have husbands. But sometimes it's just funny to see the differences.
Honestly, visits right now currently from nurses or postpartum doulas are viewed as a luxury in the U.S. for people who can afford it or have amazing insurance, which you'd have to have a really good job or pay into that. Mm-hmm. So again, a luxury. Whereas other countries, it's quite common for midwives and other care workers to come in for home visits during the first few weeks of baby's life. And I just think that we really could benefit from that, honestly. Mm-hmm. And obviously it would mean a dip for me in mine, but I will take that dip. We can be healthier.
I think it also just gives peace of mind. Like, so yes, in England, on day 3, 5, 7, I think 12, and then like another one maybe at your first month, a midwife comes right to your home, checks baby, checks you, says, any questions, mom and dad, or just mom, just dads. Who's there? Do you have any questions? What can I help you do? And a lot of new parents are like, actually, what's this thing? Like, my baby's belly button. Stupid questions. You need help.
Yes.
And the midwife is a pro. They're there to say, you're doing great. This is how you treat this. You're okay. And they also know when to escalate a situation. So we get referrals back to the hospital all the time where they say, midwife popped in around day 7 and she thinks maybe something seemed a little funky with maybe her stitches.
Yep.
And so we told her to just come see the doctors real quick. And that's amazing advice in real time.
Yeah.
It's invaluable.
It honestly is. And it's a shock how far behind we are, because there's other countries where not only do they check on you as like a normal procedure, but they come in and do like housework, like laundry and stuff like that, clean your dishes. And honestly, it's like, I look at that and it's like, wow, like really? But honestly, it's sad that I even think that way, because that should be basic necessity. Like, why don't we have that? Because it's definitely needed.
Absolutely.
And we're in a society now where people move all over for jobs or love. And so we are far. We don't really have that unit, that village anymore. Mm-hmm. And obviously without that, it's or if people just have like small families, or just, God forbid, just families of, divorce, where there's a lot of different parties separated all over the country. And because of that, they have give birth for the first time and they're alone, and it's hard, and God forbid they have postpartum depression. Mm-hmm. And it's just they're suffering. Mm-hmm. Got to figure out breastfeeding if they choose that, and it's hard.
Yeah, I agree. So I know of 2 different cultures that do this, however, listeners out there, or maybe even Marissa know more. Orthodox Jewish women, they have, basically they send you, like the ones in England at least, they go to a hotel almost in Wales with other women, Jewish women, same culture, same background, who just gave birth. And I think they could stay for weeks. Yep. And so all your food is taken care of. You're eating the best nutritious food for breastfeeding and to, make you feel good. So good protein, nice carbs, hearty food. Yep. So that you're feeling your best, because after childbirth, you don't feel your best. Yeah. They also do if you had a C-section and you're in pain, they make sure your wound is good. They make sure you're up and walking. Yeah. They make sure, I know this is gross, but this is a big part of my day, if you're passing bowel movements. Yeah. It's one of my biggest questions for my C-section women.
So first poop after giving birth, I could do a whole podcast on that. Jesus.
It's the second birth.
I said that was bad. But I should preface this by saying I had 2 C-sections, so I don't know how it is for vaginal delivery, if it hurts as bad, but yeah, it hurt. With C-section, you can't laugh, you can't burp the wrong way, you can't breathe the wrong way, and you gotta push out a poop. I'm sorry for tuning out because of this. Sorry. But it was bad. It was bad.
Any mom listening is like, yes. But I mean, there's a place where these women go for, I think, up to a month or something like that. Nice. And food, everything, they help you with breastfeeding. It's just whoever births, so, mom or surrogate, whatever, and baby. The husbands can come in and visit, or whoever your partner can come in and visit, but it's just for whoever birthed and the baby. And they bond and they love it. And I know that's another issue, because it's like, well, is dad then bonding with baby? But they can visit during the day. They just can't sleep there. That's the difference.
Which is, honestly, it's great for the family system as a whole, because, having your first kid for the first time, or even bringing back a kid into a family that has had multiples already, it's very high stress. And to take that stress and just, take it away so you can actually bond and be mom and dad, and not be also caretaker and everything that you have to do when you come home, the reality of it. It's nice. And I think that's very helpful. And, and actually, different subject, but, we have a high rate of divorce here. Mm. I wonder if because they're so supportive of the family system and give them the care they need, it helps it, because I'm sure, as our listeners know, there's people out there who had a kid and it really changed your relationship, and maybe not for the better.
That is absolutely true. I see that all the time as well. Obviously, intimacy plummets for obvious reasons. Yes. You're physically unwell.
Physically not right.
Things Okay, your anatomy will restore to its former glory. I'm here to tell you. I see within 6 weeks postpartum, everything is great.
Yes.
Okay, so
there's Irish twins for a reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. Irish twins for a reason. So don't think, oh, it's because, I'm not the same. It's a muscle, all right? It snaps back, ladies.
Doctor's order.
Doctor's order. That's not the issue. It's that you feel, I don't know, in lack of a better term, gross. You feel gross. You're like, I just delivered a baby. Maybe I'm trying to breastfeed. Maybe I can't breastfeed. Maybe I'm feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
You're dealing with all these feelings of inadequacy, low mood. You're sleep deprived.
Yeah.
You gained weight. You just had a flipping baby.
Yeah.
So the baby weight is still there. It's a few weeks postpartum. Yeah. And you're just like, your schedule is completely shot. Your intimacy is just not going to be there. And that's fine. That,
We dive more into that next episode, for sure.
Yeah, we do. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, I have more. Don't worry.
And then because you don't feel like having sex, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm shit. And, maybe he wants to. Trust me, all right? He's not. He's excited to have a baby as well, right? Yeah. I mean, come on.
If you marry the right man, a good man.
Yeah, like he's just as like to be a dad. So how about you just focus on being parents? There's no need to feel like we need to rush into anything really.
Yeah.
I forget even where. I'm off on a tangent now. How did I get here?
She's trying to convince herself.
Yeah, I do not have a child. If I did, you'd hear all of that.
Yeah. We're discussing postpartum care.
Yeah, I don't have a. Yeah, we're talking about postpartum care. So she's worried that this conversation is going to scare me. She's like, my cousin.
It better not. It better not happen.
Maybe Michael. We have a younger brother, Michael. By the way, we didn't even bring him up. We have a younger brother, Michael. He just turned 24, November 16th. And what's today? November 25th. So he's freshly 24. He is an officer in the Navy.
Yes. Shocker. Right?
I know. Honestly, Geri could write a parenting book, but however, I would say no one would take her advice. The results are there. Like, we're happy. We're healthy. We're fulfilled adults, I would say.
Very authoritarian.
Yeah, I think if you read her book, you'd be like, no.
This is bad.
No.
Well, I think, now we're, really into gentle parenting with, maybe a little bit of authoritarian, but not like the boomers did it.
we were afraid of Geri growing up. We were actually, so yesterday was Black Friday, and we were at a friend's house. She won't mind if we shout her out, Stephanie. Is my mom's friend since maybe elementary school or high school, I think, 'cause she moved into Jackson. So they go way back to the 80s, 70s actually, late 70s. And so her son Christian was there, and my mom was like, "We're leaving. Come on, we gotta go. You and Ted are putting my tree up." Ted's my husband. I don't know if I mentioned that. Anyway, you're putting my tree up. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Christian, we gotta go." And he's like, "No, Geri's not scary." And then he leaned in close and was like, "I'm terrified of Geri." Truth be told, I'm terrified. You should probably go.
It's funny that so many people are terrified of her because her nickname is Jer Bear, and I don't know if that's just ironic or
it's like when you crack that shell, it's very soft inside.
Yeah. So if you hear us say Jer Bear, it's her mom.
Yeah. She's all right.
Somehow this always comes back.
I know. We're obsessed. You're obsessed with me, girls. We will talk about her on another episode. I promise. We'll give you her. It will be starring Geri. We'll talk about almond moms.
Yeah. And in sure Geri fashion, it'll be our most listened to podcast. Somehow somebody I put you on the map. You're welcome.
The people love me.
Rename it to Geri. Sorry, show.
Psychotic Geri.
That's great.
Oh, she's like a typical mom, though, where all of our accomplishments, she's like, it's because of me.
Yeah. Because I sacrificed for you.
Oh, God, I love her. Okay. Moving on. In summary, our postpartum care sucks in the States.
Yeah, definitely sucks. Big F. We fail.
We fail. All right, so our next topic is that women seek medical help more.
Yes. True.
So, it is true. Oliver, Pearson, Coe, and Gunnell in 2005 found that, quote, males, young people, and people living in affluent areas were the least likely to seek help. I do love that. So males, yes, we talked about that. It's just about being surrounded by people who make you feel comfortable to seek advice. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's very sad. That's why, middle-aged men have a very high suicide rate. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking sad that men don't feel that they can make those connections because of society society, I don't know, would judge. However, I will say that's totally changed. If you speak to like a 15-year-old boy nowadays, oh my God, they are not the 15-year-old boys that we grew up with, right?
No, so let me just add to that. So, in my own practice alone, like I see a huge divide with like, say, a boomer age group clients versus like millennial and Gen Z. So, even though obviously I do have a few males that are boomers, it is very hush hush with them. They are very embarrassed. Because there are certain things, obviously, when you're working with coping skills and trying to, solve problems, there are things that we discuss in suggestion session. And if it ever involves with, like, speaking to X, Y, and Z, the male boomer is very uncomfortable and is like, oh, no, like, no one knows I'm in therapy.
I like that you said the male boomer. It feels like we're like David Attenborough. We're like
Animal Planet.
Yeah, we're like watching Animal Planet. We're like the male boomer
does not tell his friends he's a With a Gen Z male openly tells everybody.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So yeah, no, honestly, where actually this new thing is now, like if I have like Gen Z or even like younger millennials, they are so proud to have therapists, which I think is amazing. And I even have a few that are like, oh my God, so we compare notes. Like, I told them what you say, and I hear what their therapist says, and I'm like, I think that's so great. It's like a big community.
Yeah, no, that is so true. And that's a huge part of healthcare, though, is having people who understand what you're going through and can help you along the way. If you're doing everything on your own, imagine being a teenager, feeling depressed and seeking help on your own, being afraid to talk about it. Oh my God, what a pressure. You can't even focus on school. You can't focus on relationships, sports, because you're just like, I'm not well and I feel like an outsider for it. When in reality, everyone in high school could probably use a therapist. Yeah. Like, your hormones are like a tornado. Like, you're absolutely stressed out. You're thinking about college. Yeah. Your life is changing. You might be stressed about money. You might be working to pay bills for your family. Yeah. Yeah. Imagine that stress, and then you're like, well, I want to go to college. I need to get loans. What can I do for myself? I'm going to be in debt forever. Oh my God. Ooh, talking about this is making me stressed.
She's going to need a session of...
I know. I'm going to need a session. I'm out of school, but I'm like, I'm unwell thinking about this. Like, imagine you're making a decision at 17 years old, let's say, that might put you in debt until you're in your 50s.
A lot.
That's insane.
Yeah. I will say, like, now that I'm a mother too, obviously my parenting style versus my mother's, although I do take a little bit of what she did, because obviously, like, I do like a few things. I noticed now, like, if my kids cry about something, she immediately tells them, like, oh, stop it, get over it. And I personally, as a therapist, don't like that. A huge part of my work is, like, explore those feelings. Like, what is it telling you? And, like, what do you need to fix it? So, like, I'll catch her. And she's very uncomfortable, especially when it comes to my son, because, unfortunately, she was raised, like, stop crying, like, get over it, you're a boy, like, rub some dirt into it.
Yeah.
And I'm very much like, okay, just because he's a boy, he shouldn't be treated different than his sister.
No,
he also has feelings, and I don't want him to, like, bottle them up and become an aggressive husband,
Oh, of course. I argue Jack has more feelings.
Yeah, he does. An emotional being.
He's so flipping cute. But he's so emotional. We went up one flight of stairs in Marissa's house to record this podcast, and he cried.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to sing songs with you.
He thought we were coming to do karaoke without him.
And we're like, why are you crying? We're just going upstairs. And he's like, I want to come.
I feel like in honor of Jack, we should end everything with singing.
I did it again. We have to karaoke now. He's just so cute. Oh boy, okay.
Could you imagine though as a therapist, like, having to bottle? So if we know, and for sure, he definitely has a lot of feelings, more so than his younger sister. Could you imagine how awful that is to have to bottle that up? Like, what that would do, like, as a therapist, like, I'm just, like, thinking of a million different avenues. It's, like, bothering me. And it's just, like, to see, and I, of course, again, I know my mom comes from a good place. She's just reiterating what she was told her whole life.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
No more.
Wow, what a strong parent. Honestly, Marissa, the buck stops here. Like, the decision lies with you. It ends here. Done. I can't remember what president was it, like Woodrow Wilson or something. Oh my God! Any history buffs out there, please don't.
I am, but only on certain subjects. I'm not.
It was President Michael Wilson. I know Michael Wilson. I know. He's fucking idiot. I feel like it was Woodrow Wilson. I think I'm making that up though. Fuck! there was a president who had that on his desk in the Oval Office. It said the buck stops here. And wow, imagine if we had a leader like that now. That goes for all parties, okay? We are bipartisan here.
Bipartisan.
We are bipartisan on this podcast. I just think no one takes responsibility anymore.
No one.
So
No
we're
one.
not going to get into politics, though, because we're not smart enough to dive into it.
Oh, absolutely not. I fully admit, not smart enough.
Yeah, we just go, I don't like it, and that's it. We leave
That's
that.
it.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
it affects healthcare and mental health, her and I chime in.
Yeah, and then we have another drink when people do politics.
Yeah, and we just move on
We
because
just
we
drink.
just don't know enough. But yeah.
At this point, if you don't give me free healthcare, I don't want it.
Yeah. Michael will come on one day and he'll bore you with how much he knows about like the U.S. political system. Blah, blah, blah,
He'll tell us we're the dumbest siblings. He was the smartest.
Yeah, probably
Which
true.
is true.
I know.
True. Totally true.
Annoyingly true.
Don't want to admit it, Drew.
But his emotional intelligence, probably the worst.
Worst.
Probably the worst.
By
yeah.
far the worst. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel like that was me. Mom
Yours is
said
the
I had
best.
the biggest heart.
Yours is the best.
You're like really book smart. Like if you want to have a doctor have to do a surgery where you might not survive it, you want Bridget because she studies everything and she's not a slacker. There is no slacking in Bridget.
But my emotional intelligence is not that good. Although I've had to develop it because obviously I'm an OBGYN.
Right.
So all of my patients are like women with very emotive diagnoses, I would say. Even if you're positive, you just had a baby, you still need to reflect that back to them. Hormones, and I try to I think it's my job has made me better with emotional intelligence. I think.
Yeah.
I
know
know
it's
it's complained.
I mean, I think our relationship is better, so it must be true. You're more sensitive now. Like, you're not so mean to me. Steve is the baby sister, but she will bully the shit out of me.
I'm just like Evelyn. I'm just like your daughter. I think I'm more emotionally.
You are. No, I think
think
that's why we get along well now.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like you might be able to understand me better, and you're not so. And I'm not saying this to put you down. Like I just feel like your responses were very harsh because you were very matter of fact, very black and white, and now you can see the bigger picture. Maybe.
Maturity has changed me.
Good.
I would say with age, I've definitely matured. I'm so not. I was like Mrs. Black and White. Like it was like there is right and there is wrong. There is no gray areas. I was horrible for that.
So you finally admit you're the one that had to change for us to be friends.
Oh, yeah. No, it was me. You've not changed. You're actually very consistent in that. I am...
A little consistent.
I was a nightmare. I was so horrible. Anyway.
Back to why we're really here and not for us.
I know. We're going off on tangents all the time. I didn't know I'd enjoy having a mic in my hand.
No, I like it. The power.
The power, yeah. Okay, so... Back to women seeking medical health. So we can assume a lot has changed since 2005. Obviously, that study was from 2005 that said, young people and men and wealthy people actually are least likely to seek help. Mercer did elaborate, though, that it is still very much the same for boomer men, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there is less stigma surrounding mental health and seeking help now, as you said. Yeah, Gen Z patients are very different than their boomer counterparts. So men now do feel a bit more comfortable seeking help. It's becoming trendy to see a therapist, whatever trendy means to you.
Yeah.
It is becoming more fashionable to say, hey, I'm actually getting help.
Yeah.
But regardless, even despite that, women tend to feel more comfortable asking for help. Whether it be from friends, family, or a professional. This has been a frequently observed phenomenon for years. So now we know that women welcome a more holistic approach. They want the medical help, they want the physical help. The mental and physical. So since the multidisciplinary team, so we call it an MDT in England, since that was introduced into healthcare, we have seen improved care and outcome. So an MDT, a multidisciplinary team, basically is an approach that utilizes primary care doctors, such as your general practitioner or whatever, your surgeons, your nurses, your dietitians, your psychologists, your physical therapists, all to assess the patient. Now, if it's something more serious, like we're talking about a cancer, your oncologists are there, everyone's there. This is called an MDT approach. This was introduced, I want to say, about 30 years ago into mainstream medical, into hospitals and stuff. And we've documented safer practice and improved outcomes physically and mentally. So everyone has to review this one patient. You express your own concerns and hurdles that you identify that you think will impede overall health and well-being. And we talk about it in a huge meeting, like a board meeting, once a week. And we bring up every patient, every test result, what the psychologist thinks, what the physical therapist thinks, the dietitian, and we all, bring that knowledge together, and then we use that to treat the patient the best way we can. So it is a bit laborious, I will say. If you were from an outsider looking in, you'd be like, oh my God, what are they doing for hours in there? But it's so we could treat patients safely, effectively, and with their best holistic interest in mind. It's not just about... Mercer's wiping her nose. Sorry.
I'm sorry. This is okay. When you have kids, the fall is the worst. Okay.
Sick for days.
Sick for months. You'll see me in spring. My voice will change on this podcast in the spring.
Yeah, she's like stuffed up right now because kid. But anyway, so it's just MDT is great, laborious, yes, but it does work. So women seek help from professionals because we're burnt out. Explanation point.
100%.
Unpaid care and domestic work are valued to be up to 39% of the GDP. So $10.9 trillion, according to Oxfam in 2020, is domestic work, unpaid labor. 10.9, so $11 trillion annually of the GDP.
That's crazy, honestly. Okay, so
something for you to say, yeah.
Yeah, no, I do. So I'm gonna cut in as older sisters do. Anyway, so yeah, no, in my own line of work, women usually do take on the majority of the domestic household work. When they come to see me, they're usually very overstimulated, high anxiety, high stress, all of that, even depression. And when I'm usually meeting with a couple, it's interesting to watch the male not even realize it or even want to understand it until they're in my setting and we're working through it. And they don't all they're thinking is like physical intimacy. It's a big thing for males to feel connected, understandably. But women, in order to get to the physical, it's the emotional first.
Yeah.
And when they fail to realize that and they don't, help a little bit more with the baby or like, okay, you're going to breastfeed. Let me do the laundry. Let me cook for you. What do you need? Just asking these very simple questions. You don't even need a therapist for, honestly, if you sit back and think empathy, you'd be surprised. Add to that, and she's feeling refreshed and loved, heard, validated. The intimacy, emotional will grow, and the physical will come. But the men don't realize that, and then there's this cutoff when they don't get the physical, because for them it's a rejection. And they don't understand. They think, like, what's going on? Like, does she not love me anymore? Like, all I know is ever since this kid got here, we're not who we were, you know? And what we call them in therapy is bids for connection. Mm-hmm. So that's what the male is doing. Women obviously do, both people do them, but when he's looking for that physical sex, that intimacy, it's a bid for connection. So when the women denies that because her emotional isn't there and she's so stressed out and wants to kill the guy, he immediately shuts down.
I am not even joking, guys. I am literally learning right now. Like, before your ears, I am learning. I'm, like, listening so intently. Go on.
Credit to you, though. Anytime I'm, like, freaked out over a medical issue, I call her up immediately. Like, hey, free doctor. What does this mean?
One of the many. Don't worry. Everyone does that. I'm here for your free healthcare.
Be careful. You're going to get flooded now. That's what did you just promise?
The free doctor.
So, it's a bid for connection. And, the male needs to understand from her perspective, but also I do educate the woman as well. She needs to understand why they're shutting down and why he's getting so very upset.
Yeah. And men are great at that. What do you call it? Like stonewalling?
Yeah.
Where you shut down. Yeah. I'm not saying women aren't. Women, trust me, women can turn a cold shoulder like nobody else. But, sometimes women know when other women are doing it, and you're like, you bitch. But when a man does it to you, I don't know why. This is very heteronormative. So for heterosexual women who are, if you're seeking male, I don't want to say attention, but like gratification, love, this is, again, very heteronormative. But if you're in that situation, having a man stonewall is just like the most frustrating feeling, because then that's it. They're shut down for the night. And you're like, what, why are you upset? And then they get really just... Wow. I don't know if anyone's ever been in a situation where you're like, what did I do? And you feel almost like an idiot. You're like, what did I do? And they're like... You should know.
Well, then a little bit of gaslighting comes up, which is another subject. But so it's important with postpartum care and the difference between women versus men. Absolutely, absolutely. I will say in my own practice, heavily female, heavily. I mean, you're a little bit different profession.
Mine are all well, actually. So it is. I mean, the world we live in, it's great. I actually do treat genotypically female, women, men who were born women and now identify as men. So trans men. But guess what? If you still have a cervix, you can still develop cervical cancer. So we have posters all over the hospital that show, men, and it says, I still get my pap smear. And you should. If you have a cervix, that's a potential cancer causer. So you should definitely still seek help from an OBGYN.
Heard it from a doctor first.
Doctor first, yeah. So now we do actually treat men. You identify as a male, you're a male. And, but we have to treat you like we would anyone with the cervix.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting. My practice has completely changed. I know I'm very fresh. Obviously, I'm only 29. So I've only been a practicing doctor for almost 4 years. Yeah, I graduated med school in 25. Yeah, when I was 25. So I don't have that much experience. However, I have seen a shift already.
Yeah.
From just, the posters for the NHS. That's the National Health Service in England, free healthcare. So, when I started a few years ago, there was no, I still have a cervix, I should get a pap smear kind of thing. And now there is. And that's so important because, healthcare has changed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, we've gone off on a tangent again.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry. This might be a tangent. But also with the women seeking medical care more, in my own personal life and practice, what people don't realize is when women have to carry and deliver the baby and then breastfeed if you choose, the identity. There's a lack of identity. Like, I felt, even myself, like there was a loss. And men just really don't have to deal. Like, yes, they have to deal, like, well, now we have a kid and that we can't go out to bars or hang out with our friends at games. Yes, that shift, absolutely. But for women, it really is like, who am I outside this child besides, like, their source of food, you know? And I did struggle with that. I obviously, worked on myself and did what I know to be good. But there's women out there that, thank God, they are majority of people that they come and they seek help because of that.
Yeah.
And if they're coming as a couple struggling with intimacy, that is a huge factor when she's like, like, you're yourself. Your body didn't change. Like, yes, you still help me with feedings. And it's hard. I'm not knocking it. It's hard. But it is different for a woman when the body changes and you're not you. If that makes sense for any mothers out there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that is actually very interesting. So we, Ted and I have acquaintances who have just had their first child. And right before, when she was about 36 weeks pregnant, so towards the end, full term is 40, we were at a house party. I know it sounds ridiculous being like in your 30s. And we're like, I don't know. And he was there, so her husband was there. She wasn't, because he was like, oh, she's 36 weeks. She's not traveling for a party. She's asleep. But he was saying that actually their biggest issue was and I thought this was beautiful. He thought her and I as a couple might lose our identity. It wasn't she feels like she's gonna. He said, I actually feel like I'm gonna be so into being a dad. I think I might lose who I am as an individual. And she's afraid of that as well. He's great. Oh, he's great. Yeah. And Ted was like, that's actually amazing that you're even thinking of that right now. The baby's not even born and you're already forward thinking. And he's like, a lot of husbands, partners, whatever, don't even think that far forward.
Well, I think what I'm seeing in my practice is our generation, like millennials and Gen Z, it's we are really good and we're in tune with our feelings, which is great because a lot of us did come from like authoritarian backgrounds. So like, what I like to say is boomers walk so we could run. So true. So like, even though some of us may not have went through the best parenting, it's amazing to see how far we've come. And for those who still struggle with this traumas from being parented wrong, they work through it in therapy. They figure it out. They're better people. They're better humans in society. They're better parents, partners, friends. And I really do think that's a beautiful thing. And that is, what a good guy. Oh.
I know. And he was saying how much, this is a bit of a tangent. However, so let's say 50 years ago, you got married very much younger, obviously. You got married younger, you had children younger. So I'm not saying you didn't know who you were, but you didn't have 10 years of adulthood to explore who you were. Right. So you did definitely lose your identity, and that's fucked up, and I admit it. You're 22, maybe having a bunch of babies. You never got to be an adult, but then that's all you knew.
Is that why maybe there was a midlife crisis, though?
For sure. Maybe we'll see a drop-off of a midlife crisis.
To be determined.
Wait, we're calling it now. Fuck, I didn't even think about that. But that's why we have quarter-life crises.
Well, because there are so, like, even, like, I have friends' parents, obviously not going to name any names, but, yeah, it does seem like once their kids got out of the house, they were like, all right, good, we're done with you, like, let's go live our lives, but because they didn't get to. Like, how sad is that?
They were never adults independently.
Yeah.
Like, this is an old school saying, but let's just say, you know, you went from your father's house to your husband's house. I know it's a very outdated saying. I'm not saying that is, you know, but that was the saying of the time. You went right from your father's house to your husband's house. You never lived alone. Now,
God forbid a woman had independence.
I know, yeah, God fucking forbid.
We couldn't keep a house by ourselves.
Yeah, oh God, imagine. Please, I'd rather live with women. I tell Ted that all the time.
Honestly.
I'm like, I would choose my best friends in a house over you. I love you, but...
I forget, there's a comedian somewhere that was like, we could just have all the women live together, keep the men in a hole, and only come out for reproducing purposes. And I thought that was hilarious.
Love. I mean, again, love my husband. She loves her.
Oh, no, yes.
We're in normal, happy relationships.
But if we were in the boomer generation, I probably would have been a lesbian. I'm just saying. There's no way.
Oh, my God. Yes. Oh, okay.
Like those boomer men, man. Not all of them. Some of you are really great.
Some of you are really great. I'm just saying that. I'm saying that like I'm reading a a hostage note.
No, I will say, like, even in my own practice, some of you are really great into with your feelings. But I would say a good amount of boomer men, I would never poke with a stick from 100 feet away.
Yes. Oh my God. True. But so now flash forward to our age where you go to college, you go to grad school, maybe you live with roommates, you maybe live alone in a studio, you develop as an adult, and then if you get married, if you want to get married, if you don't, if you want just, some sort of domestic partnership or single, whatever, you have that choice now. So here's the weird thing is you get to be your own independent person. And then if you ever decide to have kids, now you're almost 30.
Right.
You're giving up that, you're like, the taste of freedom, that maybe women in the 70s never tasted. And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like to do what I want, when I want. I've earned money for a decade now and I spend it how I want. No one tells me shit. And now you become a parent and you're like, oh shit. I think it's actually... is it better? It's like take the blue pill or the red pill. Like, is it better to never know the freedom you would have lost, or to know and then lose it?
Here's what I'm seeing. And obviously, small practice. Nothing. I can't say generalization, but what I'm thinking is going to happen is when you're more evolved and you know who you are, and you're not forced to settle due to money or society or just have oh God, I'm a spinster kind of thing. Thinking, you actually find a good partner. So divorce might go down. I'm hoping. I can't predict this. I'm a small practice here. But what I'm seeing is people who actually choose their partner because they choose them.
Yeah, millennials have dropped the divorce rate marginally, but we have. Thank you.
Because we don't need you. We want to be.
Yeah, of course.
And we like who you are as a person.
We choose you.
We choose you.
I don't need you.
Oh, yeah. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
I have financial independence, although I would give up a lot of things, but obviously I have my own income. I could leave you. I choose to be with you every day. I choose to marry you.
Hey, this is for the men too. We're not knocking you too. It's important to choose someone because they're your best friend and partner for life and you enjoy them.
And don't feel like either you're dependent on her income or she's maybe dependent on yours.
Yes.
And it's like there's none of that guilt. You choose each other.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yes. And because of that, marriages are going, I think, to be more stable because they're chosen and not like an expectation.
Or how about for anyone gay? You're no longer like, oh, I'm gonna pick the guy that makes me happiest as a friend, but really I'm a lesbian and fuck that. I don't same thing for men. I'm a gay man and I'm marrying a woman. My mom actually went through a period. Remember when Geri went through like a period of being like, I went to high school with that guy, married, 3 kids, came out as gay. Remember? Like that was like in early 2000s.
Beards or something.
Yeah, beard, yeah. But I mean, I was like, Mom, why do you know like multiple people in the space of 5 years who like
very small farm Roman Catholic Italian?
But how sad is that?
Yeah,
we're not going to see that anymore. Hopefully,
hopefully not.
I mean,
hopefully
unfortunately, there are still very areas that are very rural, and close-minded and religious. Yeah, but imagine that being it's forced marriage, really. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully you see less of that, and it's more like, I'm gay and I choose to be with this person because that's who I want to be with.
Yeah.
So there's no more of that like obligation
to be a wife and a mother or a husband and a father.
Have kids so to make your parents happy. Yes. You can adopt, you can do surrogacy, IVF. It doesn't matter what creed or shape or form you are. You can have babies now. It doesn't matter. So there's no more of that obligatory fucking heterosexual marriage.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Woo!
Yeah, wow. She's passionate about this, as you can tell. But yeah, no, I think it's very important, and because of that, at least I'm seeing in my practice that these marriages are, they're actually thriving. To be honest, I can't obviously due to HIPAA say too much, but I will say the generalization of the people who are coming to me because of marital issues are a bit older. I'm not gonna classify an age group, but yeah. And the ones that come to me that are only having a little bit of things that can be easily communicated out in therapy and great light back to loving each other is younger, like my age.
Very
so,
but do they have children?
So,
because I would say that is an added stressor to a relationship.
So, but it's interesting because what they come for versus the older generation for marriage is very different. Because you could clearly see in the older marriages, they married for many other reasons, but maybe not love.
So maybe like those fundamental cracks.
Huge ones that actually, to be honest, they don't always have happy endings. I will tell you though, I will stabilize both people, but maybe not together as a unit. But yes, but there, this is something we all discuss. It's not like a surprise before it ends. But I will say the people that I deal with that are younger, always a happy union at the end.
Wow!
Again, I've only been in private practice for a few years.
I know, but still, that's incredible. Yeah. And I know that like no one's. I hate when people are like, "Oh, I want to get married." Like, yeah, no shit. No one's goal when you get married is to get divorced. Like, no one goes into a marriage and says, "I hope this ends in a few years." Yeah. But sometimes, as Marissa just said, like sometimes there are just fundamental breaks that you just can't repair, and maybe you will never be fulfilled, self-actualized, happy, independent people if you stay together.
It may have never been the right person for them to marry. Yeah.
So maybe actually if you separate and co-parent, it's better, and you're happy, independent individuals who can parent your children happily. They don't have to see fighting and aggression. Maybe that is actually the best way to go. But again, no one's like, yeah, I hope this ends.
No one. And honestly, some of the old generations, that was frowned upon, like divorce. They would rather go through their life miserable, sexless, and just...
Oh yeah.
We know someone like that.
Trust me. Oh my God, you see it all the time. And obviously we do. I'm an OBGYN. We do gynecology as well, so I treat older women. You see it all the time. They'd rather just live, just carry out the rest of the years unhappy.
Yeah.
It is sad. Yeah. But it's all they know.
It's very sad. Yeah.
What you're hearing is me taking a sip of an espresso martini.
At 11:44 a.m.
Don't tell my mom!
Geri, if you're listening, we did it.
It's 11 p.m.
We're going to listen back. It's going to be so embarrassed.
I know. So, okay, back to unpaid labor. Fuck that.
Yeah,
So it was Thanksgiving 2 days ago, and our cousin Grace, recently pointed out that 2 days ago she pointed out at dinner that sorry, I'm getting drunker as this 48 hours ago. So recent. I am getting drunker as this goes on, so I'm going to start to sound like an idiot. That's why I keep going on tangents. But so 48 hours ago at the Thanksgiving dinner table, Grace said that if women stopped working today through January 1st, it's unpaid labor, because that's the gender pay gap. So if you did the same job as a male counterpart, same hours, same exact position, same paycheck, basically, but it's not the same paycheck. It should be. If you stopped working from Thanksgiving up until the new year, it's unpaid labor anyway. You may as well not go in.
Ladies, this is why we gotta own everything. This is why I wanted to own in my own private. Own everything! Take over the world! We're going off now.
We're going on a tangent now. Oh no, we're losing our mind.
We love a supportive male, though.
Yeah. My God.
We both married men that are like, what are your dreams? We'll build them for you.
Yes.
Find them.
Yes.
Keep those males.
Honestly, the cornerstone of a healthy marriage for two people who work, not every marriage is two people who work, but if you have two people who work is, oh my God, nobody hate me for this, but
I already hate you.
Everyone's going to judge me for this. No one's going to listen to this. It's fine.
No one is.
We have two. The majority of our parents. We have two viewers. Good listeners.
Make everyone listen to this next Thanksgiving. They're just going to play it during dinner.
Humiliated. Okay, but I'm going to quote a This is when I'm going to be crucified. A Chris Rock stand-up.
Yeah, I love Chris Rock.
Okay, so 3 years ago, Tambourine came out. Would it say 2020 when Tambourine came out?
I didn't hear about
Okay,
it.
so Marwa, shout out to Marwa, one of my best friends in the world. Her and I love this comedy special because he talks about, and his marriage ended. You know, he's talking about it from now, looking back with a bit of hindsight. And he went to therapy. You need to know, good man, you need to know when to play tambourine. So I'll explain that. When you have two working or two charismatic, but maybe you don't work. Maybe you have a passion though, a hobby, a philanthropy, something. But if you have two people with a passion in a marriage, you have to know when it's not your turn.
Yes. 100%.
When are you playing
100%.
tambourine? When is your wife or your whoever, your partner, going to get up on stage and be the lead singer, lead guitar? Yeah. It's their career first, and you play tambourine. And then 5 years later, guess what? It's gonna switch.
Yes.
Still be, or he will be playing tambourine, and you'll be lead guitar.
Can't be selfish. Nobody likes a narcissist. Okay.
There you go. And it's just the ebb and flow of life. You need to know when. Guess what? Actually, she has a huge opportunity, and maybe that means moving. Right. Maybe that means I have to work less hours to take care of the kids.
Absolutely.
When I have to say goodbye to my parents, we have to move. Yes. You know. And it sucks. I'm not saying to just do this lightly, but you have to know, like, you know what? It's actually my time to be the supportive one.
Absolutely.
And she's going to be our rock star.
Yes.
And then 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, it's totally going to switch because it's just the ebb and flow of life. You will get your moment, and that partner will say, oh, you know what? It's actually my turn to play supporting role. I'm going to play tambourine.
But this is great, by the way. But this is also, I would say, easier. Like I've seen this is how we are as the younger generation. Like I feel like mom and dad, it's like her and her friends have always been like, what is the male up to? Let's like not our mom is different.
Yeah.
And enigma. She whipped our dad regularly.
Geri is the lead guitar.
Yeah, all the time.
But
that's also not
8 years.
Though. That's not, you know what I mean? Like I love her, but like when would it have switched? You know, it's always been the Geri show.
I know.
And even my grandma's generation, it was always, what is the mail bringing in? Like, what is, give me your paycheck, support the household.
And I will move. Just at Thanksgiving, I was speaking to my great aunt, and she was saying we moved all over the country for Uncle Jack's work. And it was like, that was normal. Like, he got a job here, you move. You drop by family, move.
That's the move. Right?
That's my Aunt Nancy. We got many great aunts who did it. It's just, it was the norm.
Yes. And you know what? Now that would never work, and I think I would see a ton of people in couples therapy because it's not fair. And like you said, we get married later, so we already have that independence and know what we want to do and are passionate about. So to like rip that from us, divorce.
Yeah, it would never work. You have to know when it's your turn to shine and when it's not, and it's taking turns. And we say that all the time. And I know it's so corny, but Ted and I say this all the time to each other. Like, your successes are my successes. Like, I'm happy for you. And he says it all the time for me. He's like, I'm in awe of everything you do in your career. I'm so proud of you. But his successes are mine and mine are his because we support each other. We're doing it together. You think any of us do something? No man is an island. I'm not doing this in a vacuum. I'm not like, I did this all by myself. I have no one to credit. You know, I come home and he has dinner ready or we've done laundry. But that's all part of my success.
He's afraid of her. No, I'm just kidding.
No, oh my God, he's so not.
No, he's not. It's true. But this man is such an angel that as we are up here singing karaoke, as my son said, he is letting my probably daughter put pigtails in his hair while my Jack is repeating what she did this morning while you were getting this stuff. He kept saying to your husband, "You're a farty little man."
He said to Ted, "You're a farty little man." Ted is like 230 pounds, all right? He's not little.
No.
I'm joking.
My son puts little in everything. It's a little house. So he's being emotionally abused while my daughter physically abuses him. And he's like, "You go be your best self, Bridget. Go do that karaoke."
Farty little man. I can't wait to call him that later.
You'll love it.
Farty little man. He's English, all right? He doesn't fart.
He toots. My kids are bullies.
Oh, they are. I love them, though.
I know. They're actually really sweet because they have a therapist as a mother, so.
They're only sweet because they're so flipping cute. I'm sorry. No, they are. They're actually, like, really good kids. They're just so cute.
You curse the whole podcast, but it says flipping cute.
I know. Yeah, they're flipping. They're flipping cute.
Shirley gets really worked up over women's issues.
I do. I do. Now, I'm going to shout out a book recommendation. It's called Invisible Women. Ooh. Men and women have read it. It's not just women. Although, I will say, I read it. It's about, basically it's about healthcare and everything, gender inequalities between men and women and unpaid labor. It talks a lot about unpaid labor and how, women in, So, yeah, called Invisible Women. It's an amazing book. I highly recommend it. Just